Hey everybody, Basic Landwalk back again. Today I'm doing an episode of what I'm calling Back to Basics. It's going to be a series where I talk about things that are for the newer player or more geared towards people just getting into the hobby of Magic the Gathering. Have you been wondering about one of the least expensive ways to get into this hobby? Do you love opening booster packs? Feeling that dopamine rush? Are you intimidated by the steep cost of constructed formats? Or maybe you just love challenging yourself when it comes to trying to come up with a new idea? Today, I'm talking about Draft, one of Magic's premier limited formats. It's a wonderful entry point for someone just getting started. Now, if you're brand new, this is for you. Magic is a massive game with many different ways to play. These different ways are usually referred to as formats. In broad strokes, Magic has two major groups of format with a third facet affecting each one of those two groups in a certain way. The primary one is constructed. These formats have many different variations, but the main denominator that ties them all together is you build your deck separate from the event. You show up to a constructed event with your deck in hand already. The other format would be limited. Limited formats involve Draft, the one that I'm talking about today, and Sealed. These formats consist of players receiving unopened booster packs during the event. Opening them and building the deck is part of a core element of the limited format. Now, the third facet I talked about earlier being multiplayer. Things like Commander or Arch Enemy that involve multiple people playing against one another or against a common enemy. Or Two-Headed Giant, a spin on Sealed for the limited aspect with you and a teammate opening a single pool of booster packs before building two different decks and duking it out with other teams. I could do full videos on the nuances of Magic's mini formats, but today I'm talking about Draft. What you can expect if you've never participated in one before, as well as 4 helpful tips that you can utilize throughout the process. A group of players participating in a draft is referred to as a pod. Now, a typical draft pod consists of 8 people. If more than 8 people have signed up for the event, most often this will result in a second pod being formed depending on how many people are in attendance. For the sake of this example, let's assume 8 people signed up, and we have a nice even pod. The event host will determine seating arrangement, assigning each player a seat numbered 1 through 8, starting at one corner of the table and ascending in a clockwise order. After everyone is seated, 3 booster packs are given out to each participant. Don't open your packs yet. Depending on the type of event, the draft will run using either a timer or a method called zone drafting. Zone drafting is more common, so for this example, let's say that we're using the zone drafting method. Think of each player as their own zone at the table. This is a lot easier to visualize if players have their own playmats in front of them. You can assign their playmat as their zone. If they don't have a mat, your imagination works just as well. Okay, so the host has given your packs and announced you may begin. The first thing you're going to do is open one of the booster packs in front of you. Leave the other 2 alone for now. Put them off to the side. We're going to come back to those. You're going to choose a single card out of the pack you open. That's right, a single card from this booster pack. Select it, put it in your pile, placing it face down directly in front of you. Once you've made your choice, you're going to pass the remaining cards face down to the player seated to your left, or the next number up in seating arrangement. Place the pile into the next player's zone. After you've passed your pile, check your zone. If the player to your right has passed their pile to you, you may pick it up and repeat the previous steps, selecting a single card each time. One of the keys to zone drafting is not letting piles accumulate inside any one zone. If the player to your left hasn't picked up the pile you passed them before, just be patient. Wait for them to complete the choosing and passing process before adding another pile of cards to their zone. Each zone should only have one pending pile in it at a time. If you remember that simple truth, you'll be just fine. After all the cards have been selected from Pack 1, you'll repeat all of the above steps with Pack 2 with one minor difference. This time, you're going to be passing your piles to the right, or the next number down in seat order, repeating all the same steps as Pack 1 until all the cards have been chosen. Pack 3 will be a direct repeat of Pack 1 with players passing to the left again. At the end of Pack 3, you should have roughly 45 cards unique to you selected from among all the booster packs opened at the table. This will form your draft deck. Now, this is a great place to talk about those helpful tips I mentioned earlier. Number 1, if you've never done this before, you might be wondering about lands. Every Magic deck needs lands to be able to cast the cool spells you've selected, but you barely saw any of them during the draft. Don't worry. Lands are usually provided after the drafting process by the host or the game store. You'll have access to all 5 colors of basic lands to make sure you can cast any of the awesomeness that you opened. Tip number 2, you don't have to put every card you picked into your deck. If you picked a green card in pack 1 but didn't see any more in packs 2 or 3, That's okay. You don't have to play it just because you picked it. A typical draft deck consists of 40 cards. 16 or 17 of them are usually lands selected from that land station provided by the host. So you really want to pick the best 23 or 24 cards from your draft pool and use those when you're building your deck. A key thing to pay attention to during the draft is how many creature cards you've selected. More often than not, attacking with creatures through combat is a deciding factor in limited gameplay. I usually aim for 15 to 18 creatures and 5 to 8 other types of cards for a good balance. Tip number 3, check for the open lane during the draft. If you're picking up the third pile of pack 1 and you see a white mythic rare creature, even if you didn't pick a white card for pick 1 or 2, you might recognize that neither of the two players to your right are picking white cards. You can identify the open lane early, and it will be a huge strength when it comes to building the best pool of cards to build your deck from. Tip number 4, don't always pick the rare. I know this might sound like a throwaway hint, but let me be the first to say I know how it feels to open a pack and skip right to the rare or mythic slot. But the truth of limited is some rares aren't designed for the landscape of random card pools. Take your time, read every card in the pack. Remember my earlier point of most games being decided by creatures attacking. Check the packs for removal cards or cards that remove creatures from play. These cards are often objectively best in pack, and one of the best things you can pick even if they're not the rare or mythic. Now that I've given you those 4 tips, what happens after the draft? You'll be given an amount of time, usually 20 to 35 minutes, to build your draft deck. After the building process is done, the host will post a pairing sheet, and you'll sit down with your opponent before getting started. This isn't a gameplay video, so I won't go too far into that, but I will mention draft is still a best of 3 format, so you will play 3 games with each opponent of the night, usually playing matches as a best 2 out of 3 games. Remember to enjoy the process, and anything you selected during the draft is usually yours to keep after the event. This is a great way to get a collection started on a budget and play Magic along the collecting journey. I'm Basic Landwalk, and this has been my beginner's guide to your first draft, the pilot episode of Back to Basics. May your top decks be spicy. Looking forward to seeing you next time, and good luck in your next draft.